doubling and halving and how we do that in year 2. So I'm going to start by looking at section A, which revises what the girls will have done in form 1, which is doubling smaller numbers and halving some of those numbers as well. So if I take this one here where they were asked to double 8, there's a couple of different things they could do. They could get 8 cubes, 2, 4, 6, 8, and they could get the same number again, 2, 4, 6, 8, and then they can pop them together and count them out to count out 16. Alternatively, they might want to draw 8 dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if you haven't got cubes or anything at home, and again, double it, so the same again, and then count up all the dots. Another method they might want to use would use 100 square or number lines, which you have in the homework diary. So you could start with 8 for doubling 8 here and counting on 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. You might want to use 100 square and start with 8, and again count on in ones until you've doubled 8. For halving numbers, again, similar sort of methods. If you had 12, you could count up 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then sharing them out. So getting the girls physically to count out and share their cubes to find half. Again, they can do that with 2 circles. So they could start with 12, and they could either draw the 12 at the bottom and share them out. 1, 2, 3, and so on until they've shared it out. And a really great YouTube video that we use for doubling, which will eventually help with halving as well, because we'll work on the inverse relationship, is called Doubles Doubles. And we use this to practice songs at school, but you can use it at home. And of course there's mathematics activities as well, which we set for the girls that will revise doubling and halving. And that's how to start and support with section 8 at home. We're now going to have a look at doubling slightly more complex numbers. So this would be section B, where the numbers are slightly bigger. So if I take a number like 25 and we think about doubling it, we use tens and units. So we've done lots of work, and the girls have in form 1 about tens and units and the value of each number. So thinking of 2 tens being 20 and 5, which make 25. And we do lots of practical work with our tens and units. So if we were to double 25, I would get the girls to do some sticks of 2, 20, and then 5. And we would do lots of work around doubling it with 20 and then 5, and then we would put it together, so we know 25 plus 25 is doubling that. So I would think 20, 30, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, and we would use these to help us. If you don't have these at home, that's okay. The girls are also starting to draw out the tens. So you might have 2 sticks of 10 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 sticks of 10 for doubling 25. And again, putting those together. So you'd have 25. You know that you've got 20 and a 5. Doubling 5 and 5 is 10. 20 and 20 is 40. Now, if the girls are finding this challenging, we also talk about our number pattern. So if we know that double 2 is 4, and we know that 10 plus 10 is 20, and we're looking at, oh, that's very similar to 1 plus 1 is 2. We've just moved into the tens columns. We talk about 20 plus 20 being 40. And we would work out like that now. So when you're doubling 25, you'll double the units to make 10. We talked about how to double 20 to make 40. And then the final bit, you've doubled the tens, you've doubled the units. We need to recombine those, so we put those together, which would be 40 plus 10. And again, we could do what we talked about where we were looking at the tens numbers. So 4 tens plus 1 10 equals 5 tens, which is 50. Or we can talk about 40 plus 10 by counting on in ones. So in your homework diaries, you have a number line where you can count on in tens. So you just do one big jump of 10 to 50. Or you could use the 100 square as well and start at 40 and count on in little jumps 10 times so that you land on 50. So you do 40 plus 10 recombined is 50. So 25 double makes 50. Halving, again, as the girls practice the inverse relationship between the two, they'll recognise doubling is the opposite of halving and vice versa. So say if you were taking a number like 90, let's go for quite a challenging one. So if you had to halve it, again, we would use that idea of partitioning. So you'd have 9 tens and 90. Okay, if I share out 0, I've got nothing. And then this one's a bit trickier because I've noticed that that one there is an odd number. And when I have 9 units, I can't share that out. So what I'm going to do here is think of, okay, 90 being 9 tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I would share those out. So if I've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, I would get the girls to physically share those out. So they're finding half of 90. And again, if I was doing it on the board, I'd be sharing them out. So there's 10 going to there. And I'd keep sharing it until eventually we realise that we have 1 10. I'm at 10. But we know what half of 10 is, because if I had 10 little cubes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I share out those 10 cubes, it's got 5 and 5. So I can put 5 little dots in there, 5 little dots in there, which is shared it out. So now I've got 10, 20, 30, 40, and 5 units, 45. So I know 45 and 45 is 90. So now I know that half of 90 is 45. And we do lots of practical work, and we're trying to bridge into that, doing it mentally by drawing some pictures and breaking things down into tens and units. And that's how we do more complicated doubling and halving. And the last section, section C. Now again, section A is almost like a revisit and revise of Form 1 into Form 2. Form 2 is something that we'll be working on throughout the year, and section C is your real challenge. This is what we're aiming for towards the end of Form 2 into Year 3. So this is your real challenge. So again, if you spent 10 minutes and you're only up here, or 10 minutes and you whiz through this and a bit of this, that's absolutely fine. But if the girls have really understood this, they've whizzed through, and you still have some minutes left in your 10-minute allocated time, this is the real challenge. So doubling, I would use here from your 3's numbers to your 6's numbers, the same methods before, where you could use tens and units, you can draw out pictures. And then for here, when you're talking about a quarter, and that being half of a half, exactly the same. So if you've got 100 going down to 50, and the girls need to find half of 50, I would use 6 of 10, or I would use my drawing of 5 tens, and I would share those out to find half. So I know 10 there, 10 there, 10 here, and here. There's that. I can't. So half of 10 will be 5 in here and 5 in here. So I've got 25 and 25. Now, the very common sort of doubles and halves and quarters that come up with these tens and hundreds numbers, we play lots of games with during mental and oral warm-ups, so we keep revisiting it. But if the girls need to use practical objects, if they need to draw pictures, that's all encouraged. But again, this section is very much what we're aiming for at the end of the year. And if they're starting to remember some halves and quarters from memory towards the end of the year, they'll be doing exceptionally well.